Hey guys, welcome to Irish Medieval History, and today we're looking at the new DLC that recently came out, the Royal Courts. Michael will be playing away in the background as I explain what's going on in Ireland at the time. In fact, Malicious, who owns a YouTube channel, who we will be putting the details down below, I'm putting a nice picture of his channel probably above my head or something. We'll see how we can fucking edit this together. But regardless, Malicious has covered a really good video on Murdoch in this period. And it's quite a good one because it covers how this man is not, in fact, the King of Munster. He's actually a man on the run right now, running away from Diarmait Máel no More before he gets butchered by the likes of Diarmait Máel no More, or who should be the actual representative of the King of Munster at the time, Turlough Ibreen, who is also the sub-vassal of Diarmait Máel no More, who's over in Leinster right now. Yes. Himself over in Leinster, and then his son is in charge of Dublin right now. So technically speaking, Diarmait Máel no More should be owning the entire territory of Leinster, Osraga, Munster, Dublin, and what this game is putting down as Desmond, which is under the McCarthys right now. And he should have already pushed up into Connacht as well, so he should be dominating Connacht as well. And so his only main rival is only in Meath right now, and he should be eventually pushing into Meath as well, except for he failed and got himself killed. Spoiler alert to one of my own videos that, with some good editing, we can post a picture of one of my videos probably above my head as well, or Michael's head. Very good video, really awesome video. It's gotten some good reviews right now, very good comments and stuff. Diarmait Máel no More. Where is he? What's he doing in 1066? He's actually involved with 1066 as well, not the battle itself, but his sons, the Godwin sons, who are actually over in England right now. Harold Godwin's son is in charge of England, and his sons, who are down in his children's line, the ones that do survive the Battle of Hastings, they make their way over to Ireland, over to Dublin to go into hiding, away from the Normans who will take over England. Probably not in our playthrough, we'll see, or unless they've already taken over, because this is more of an introduction. We're going to go into the Royal Courts now in a second. Where we've done a bit of playing. We have done a tiny bit of playing, but we decided myself and Michael would explain what's going on in the background first. And so, technically speaking, William the Conqueror takes over England, and the sons of Godwin's sons make their way over to Ireland, and they look for support of Diarmait Máel no More. And so Diarmait Máel no More allies himself over with Denmark. Sweyn II at the time should be King of Denmark. I don't know if he's King of Denmark at the exact Battle of Hastings, which is, there he is, there's the man himself. And Sweyn II and Diarmait Máel no More make an alliance with each other, and they both declare war on England to remove the English monarchy. And the first time that Diarmait Máel no More goes into England, he does it to raid and undermine England and try to put the Godwinsons back in charge. And then between the second part of Diarmait Máel's campaign, he tries to help Sweyn II become King of England, and try to restore Canute the Great's power. Because at the time previously, around 1014, around 1013, Canute the Great had taken over England, Norway and Denmark. And so this might benefit Diarmait, who's trying to make massive amount of money in the Irish Sea, and it would be better off having Sweyn II take over England than the Normans. So that's pretty much what Diarmait Máel no More is trying to do in the larger picture, while also trying to move up north and try to take over the north of Ireland as well. But he ends up getting himself killed up and around the Meath area, and that's pretty much the end of him. And Turlough Ibreen ends up taking over, who is only a sub-vassal, I think. He's not in the main game himself. He should be a Munster, he's not. And he's a I think he's a sub-character, sub-noble of the Ibreens in Munster, sadly.
I can't see him.
No, I couldn't. There he is, Turlough Brain. This actually happens to be on the list. He's slightly up. Yeah. Oh no, it's Murdoch. Yeah, there he is, Turlough Brain. I think that's him. Oh, that's Tig. Maybe it's not him. Oh. If you go into the family tree, you might find him. I have no idea. He should be King of Munster. He's not. Yeah, there he is, Turlough Brain, and then his son Murdoch Brain, who ends up taking over after him. So this is all fantasy. That whole line there, it's not fantasy, but the fact he's king of Munster, that is a fantasy. Who should be king is actually Turlough Brain. He should be the sub-vassal of Diarmait McMail na Mór. And when Diarmait McMail na Mór dies, he ends up usurping Diarmait McMail's family, takes the kingship for himself, and he declares himself king of Greater Ireland. Then, when he passes away, he successfully gives over the crown on his death over to his son Murdoch Brain, who's also on that list as well. And he ends up, Diarmait McMail na Mór ends up getting usurped by Turlough O'Connor. So very fascinating.
You have to remember, this is 40 years or so after the Battle of Clontarf. Many kings and chiefs' talents would be killed in this battle, like leaving a massive power vacuum, which obviously would be filled by many other kinsmen and warlords. It was really fracturing the clans. Here in the Ullid, you'd have like 4 kings in a 10-year period till like Máel came along, and he would beat the Vikings in the Irish Sea in a sea battle. He would make incursions down south, attacking Dublin and gaining cattle, and also holding off the O'Neills as well. So he was also down in Leinster, building alliances with Diarmait, and he got into this power by beating his own cousin. So these sort of clan feuds, to pick the new ruler would, build some pretty powerful dynasties. Here you have obviously Oriel, who would be run by the O'Neills, and they've subjugated the Oriel clans like the McDorna, who would obviously give their names to the Moor Mountains and surround the land of like McGuinness, and you have the O'Neill of the feuds in the 15th century moving here. So, but most of all, this is O'Neill territory here. So, yeah, I understand why I picked O'Neill. So, Ailic, yeah, I mean, this should be a branch of the O'Neills or the Eniel. This king, I don't know how to pronounce that. He's only a king for like 3 or 4 years, I think. Anyway, so before the McNeils and the McLaughlins would come in and sort of take over. So one thing I wanted to actually pull up really is the Keynote Desmond here. This didn't really exist until like the 1118. It's like 40 years, a bit too early. It was created through the Treaty of Glenmire, although it was run by the McCarthys, like you said. So I have no idea why this has Doherty written on it, but McCatholic is the McCarthy progenitor through his sons Tig and Cormac. So and obviously Catholic is the famous rival of Brian Boru. So they were obviously bitter rivals for the kingship of Munster and stuff. So
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why. I have no idea where they got Doherty written there. It doesn't make any sense unless they've spelled Donahue or Donovan, which are also branches of the Anoctor Cashel. So this is probably just balance, to make balance for the game. Maybe the map is the way it is because of balance, but I'm not a fan of the map.
Yeah, I think it was Malicious has made a video about that as well, highlighting the fact that there needs to be more detail, especially when there's so much attention being put into Ireland because it's considered Newbie Island, which is something I really support, and they need to put more time into developing Ireland a bit more for a lot of people that are into Newbie Island, that spend, like, because Ireland is such a good introduction into the feudalist world because of the way Crusader Kings is laid out. At the very start, it's not overwhelming because you're not shoved deep into the political spectrum of the likes of the Holy Roman Empire and stuff, which is big and large, and it can be very difficult to get your head around. I think Ireland is a really good introduction into the likes of the Holy Roman Empire and stuff. So I do think more work should be put into. So basically, now that we have a good grasp of what's going on in the ground at the time, I think the O'Connors we didn't cover, did we? There.
Oh, I skipped the Sale Murray.
I would do a quick bit on the O'Connors, especially the fact. But I kind of covered the O'Connors with the rise of Turlough O'Connor, because the O'Connors at this point they're kind of like just at the side. No one's really paying attention at them, and then suddenly out of the blue, Turlough O'Connor pops up and usurps the later kings when the Ibreen take it back over from Diarmait McMael na Mór, who's king of Ireland at the time. So what happens is that Diarmait McMael na Mór is king of Ireland at the time, and he gets usurped by Turlough Ibreen. He successfully gives that over to his son Murtough Ibreen, and then Murtough Ibreen ends up getting usurped by the O'Connors, who were just up there minding their own business and stuff, and then completely out of the blue they rise up against their supreme overlords, Murtough Ibreen, and they just usurp them. You know, so they're definitely.
Well, this is where you have the Treaty of Glenmire. You know, Murtough O'Brien or Brian becomes ill, and the McCarthys then rebel or rebel, being obviously long-term rivals of the O'Briens. And then you have like Diarmait, Murtough's son, obviously raising an army, and he heads down south before being beaten by the McCarthys. And then you have, Murtough then raises an army, probably gets better or something, comes out of retirement, and he raises an army, and then he goes down south, and then Turlough O'Connor just sort of steps in and is like, you know what, Munster is better divided, so it's easier if I just control you both, separately. So they come together with this Treaty of Glenmire, and obviously the creation of Desmond there.
Hey guys, welcome back to Irish Medieval History, and welcome back to Ireland. Now that we've given you guys a slight introduction, we did realise a few hours ago when the DLC went up that you actually need to be an actual King of Ireland, and because the makers of Crusader Kings 3 didn't recognise Diarmait McMael na Mór's kingship of Ireland, we had to go and do it ourselves. So Michael will update us to what's going on, how the new mechanics work, and we'll try to work out how the new mechanics work and what's going on in Michael's game, because Michael obviously had to take control of the Ibreen dynasty since it was a mess in the game, and he's had to go off and make himself King of Ireland to fix all the problems of Ireland. And in doing so, we've now unlocked the DLC now that Michael is now King of Ireland, and we can now see what the DLC can bring. And let's review it. What's going on, Michael? What have you left us
welcome with? To the realm of complete fantasy. All family trees that had any semblance of fact is now gone, and we've just completely gone our own path. So obviously King of Ireland now, and I'm still running with our previous character from before, with the O'Briens. So just a wee bit older now, and I've married just about every woman in a 4-mile radius. So no woman was safe to try and
get them babies,
some heirs to the throne. So if we just go into here, and you see that the family tree is just ridiculous at the minute.
The coat of arms and everything is wild. That's a good Irish family. Like, that's a good. I'd hate to be the woman pumping all that out, like, but
Well, multiple wives are married. Everyone, like I said, within sort of 100 meters of him. So
yeah, so he's taking full advantage of fucking insular Christian culture there, like. And I see Scotland has come over to say hello.
Yeah, they arrived about 400 years too early to be setting themselves up in Antrim. The McDonald's aren't even here yet. Or maybe Scotland is just reclaiming the land as successors of the Irish Kingdom of Dalriada, and they're just trying to reclaim some of their ancestral homeland. and sort of just a bit of ahead of time, should we say?
Oh, and Norway is still fully involved as well. So you might be able to make a alliance with Norway to take on Scotland and start the Norway Scottish War. How many years? 300, 200? Yeah, 200 years earlier, because that war doesn't start in 1260. Yeah, yeah,
Battle of the Lords was in 1263.
yeah. Might start that up a wee bit early just to calm everything down. And then Rory's over in Connacht.
Rory of the Yellow Birch.
Hey, Rory!
Shall we get across here and see the new features? I haven't looked at any of these yet, so zero research.
So this is the DLC we're about to look at now. It's the first time I'm actually looking at it, so I have no idea what I'm expecting here. Like, God. Oh, this is really nice. I actually like it because it looks exactly the way that you would imagine a place like Cashel or something. Where's your capital again? It's still in Munster, is it?
Yeah, I didn't change it. I just sort of completed it.
The only thing, maybe you'll be able to look around the court and stuff. The only thing that's missing is a nice tapestry, a nice Celtic knot tapestry that you would see in like the Book of Kells or something. That's the only thing that's really missing. But other than that, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I feel it's lacking in the fashion and the flamboyancy you would sort of expect of a medieval court. This is meant to wow foreign dignitaries, other chieftains, kings, lords, whatever. These are people that you're maybe going to be building trade relations to, threatening or showing your wealth to. So it does seem sort of very bland, what you'd expect.
Yeah. It is very bare. Like even the lack of detail on the roof and stuff. So it's very good, right? The main basic of it is exactly how I would imagine a Irish royal court, bang on. If you've ever been to the likes of Cashel or the later periods of Bunratty Castle and Blarney Castle and stuff, well, Bunratty Castle is a far better example. You can get the good idea of this. Like even the way the windows are and stuff is very, very good. Sadly, he's wearing baggy pants, which is very much a Russ culture, not a Gaelic culture at all. We'd have more proper pants that you would see in England and something, in more tartan pants than you would see baggy pants. Baggy pants is very much, unless he's really getting into the Russ culture anyway. But yeah, you wouldn't see too much baggy pants, and everyone in the royal court has a baggy pants, so they're very much getting into the Russian culture.
I think we should, the throne should be mentioned. I feel it's very plain for an Irish throne. It's not really in the style that you would even assume to be an Irish throne. It just seems very plain.
If you think of this, the Cross of Con, which is the style of it's very popular in this period. The Cross of Con is a very Norse Gaelic style, right, of knotwork. That they should have used the Cross of Con, and they should have that pretty much plastered. Not the actual Cross of Con style, not the pitchery itself, but the style itself, Norse Gaelic style, should be all over the place. It should be in all of the wood. All of the wood should have that all put in, like, so all the wood up there. And it's the same with the throne. The throne should have that knotwork in, and the same with their manor over. Oh, that's not bad though. I do like the cross, right? I like the basics of it. It's just the lack of style and everything. Like, I can't see anything knotted into the chair. I can't see anything in the wood. I can't see anything.
Yeah, I agree. It just doesn't have the intricacies of our native Irish style.
Yeah, it's very, especially for Ireland.
Now, the most observant of you will understand that this is on low settings. My computer is a bit of a potato, so I am running multiple apps. I've got Discord, I've got the game, I've got the webcam, I've got the recording. So it's I had to have the lower settings, but even then I would still hope to see a little bit more detail, or at least the shadows of where the detail would have been if I had sort of better specs for my computer.
Especially with the Cross of Kong. Like if you use the Cross of Kong for an example, I suspect that's a king's chair right now. He should be king of Ireland. That whole throne should be 100%. Even the back of the chair that you wouldn't see underneath the chair would be covered in insane detail. Like the woodsmen, not woodsmen, the carpenters and stuff at the time are insanely detailed. Like these people would put detail in detail. And like at the bottom there, the carpet is lacking a lot of Norse Gaelic Celtic knots. Like that whole thing should have Celtic knottery in it, like that kind of Norse Gaelic influence in it. The whole thing should be just covered in that kind of Norse Gaelic, as we would say from a modern perspective, knotwork, you know. And other than that, like don't get me wrong, I'm being really strict. Um, yeah. Um, the detail. This is exactly how I would when I come into the room. This is how I would expect it. Um, Obviously, you'd have more of the cross, and they said that they'll bring relics into it. We just haven't unlocked the relics right now, so you won't see the likes of the relics, especially the Cross of Con, the True Cross, because we're going into the period of the Crusader period and stuff, and so relics from the Crusades would start appearing inside the Irish courts. So O'Connor in particular had the Cross of Con, and what the Cross of Con is a relic of the true cross that was inside of a other cross that was pretty much well decorated, and he would have that on display.
Oh, hang on. There seems to be a way that you can upgrade this, so like you get sort of nicer items as you sort of go further on, which would make sense, I suppose, because you know you become High King of Ireland, but you would need to receive gifts from other factions or other lords and show them off and take things, tribute, and you know, war. And...
Oh, well, that's more like a. That's exactly what I would imagine first thing. So that's way better. So the only thing I would change really is it's also kind of funny to see everybody in armor. They're like ready to run outside and get into battle. Must be ready for the Scots and the men of Connacht to come over and fight them. 'Cause they're all there. The only thing I would change is the way Russian culture has suddenly come into the Irish court, because everyone is in rust pants, baggy pants. I would love to change that to the Irish tartan pants. Oh, this looks good.
So we have Ragnavold wishing for men to have right to carry weapons. We seem to have Earl Donald arguing against these men to have the rights to bear arms, and you get to sort of choose.
The great thing, yeah, the great thing about this now is it's still the era of that kind of Norse, as people would say, Norse scale, but academics would say the Hiberno-Scandinavian era, where you would have people of both Gaelic and Scandinavian cultures coming in here. So you have somebody who with a Scandinavian coming in here as and he's Irish. Like he is at the time, although he would be identified in his subgroup as an Ustman, and he'd be inside a Gaelic court. He's still identified as an Irishman. If you read the Icelandic sagas, when he goes up to Iceland and stuff, he's called an Irishman. He's no different to the native Gaelic people at this point, and it's great that that's fully developed in the game, that an Ustman would go into a Gaelic court and be treated like anyone else, because you know he's still an Irishman at this point. That it actually includes this kind of the culture of this period, where a lot of people have this belief that it was Viking versus Irish. That's not the case here. And what you have is Ragnar, who's gone into, it's Ragnar, isn't it?
Ragnvold?
Ragnarvold, who's gone into Ragnarvold, who would be identified as an Ustman, who's gone into the Gaelic court And the thing at this point, although both the native Irish, the Gaelic, and the Usman are sort of two different groups with their own culture, their own background, they both speak Gaelic. Most of these families are fostered into each other, and most of these families are married into each other. It's just one background has a Scandinavian background, which is Usman, and the other background is the native Irish people who are called the Gaelic, right? And at this point now, they're pretty much fully mixed together. If you read literature at this period, a good example is the Icelandic sagas. They just identify both the Gaelic people, the native Irish, and the Usman as Irish. They actually use the word Irishmen. So at this point now, it's really mixed. The outsiders cannot tell the difference between the Usman, the Scandinavians that immigrated to Ireland, and they can't tell the difference between the Gaelic, the native Irish, who live in Ireland right now. And this game fully shows that off. You can see Usman coming into the court of the Gaelic king and asking for various things from his king, the supreme overlord. And it's great to see that. It's great to see Usman names, Scandinavian names in there, because at this point they're fully developed. As I said earlier as well, Diarmait MacMail na Mór had made an alliance with Sweyn II, the King of Denmark. So things are very much mixed. It's much more mixed than people think at this point.
Yeah, the Isles are run by the Crusader Dynasty, the branch of the Emer, who obviously had, almost like a vast kingdom around centered around the Irish Sea and the west of Scotland and stuff. So, they would eventually, the Crusader Dynasty would eventually be, pushed out by Somerled, and who would be the progenitor to the MacDonalds and MacDougals. The sort of Orkney Earls at the time as well, they're sort of recovering from their involvement from their subsequent defeat, at Stamford Bridge. But the Isles are still full of these Norse Gael families who are well established in trading from Norway to Dublin. And it depends on, like where they are, on how much interaction they have with the Orkney, was obviously known to have a lot of Norse families, whereas Skye and Mull were had a few less. But it's a very, very busy highway here along the Isles. A lot of trade, a lot of ships. So yeah.
Oh, the newest word is it's actually in one of the new books that myself and Michael have been reading. It's what was it? Scotty Picto Scandinavian. New fancy word. Where in Ireland, academics would refer to the Scandinavians that would immigrate to Ireland about 920, when their children's children had been pretty much assimilated into Irish society. Since they were children, they played with Irish children. Their mothers were Irish. They spoke Irish. There was little to the children themselves had little to no Norse. They did learn Norse from their fathers, and they did have to use it when they were adults. So, but their main foundation is still Irish. Their first language is Irish. That's natural to them. So this group of people, a lot of academics today would refer to them as the Hiberno-Scandinavians. Um, in Scotland, you have the same thing, where you have people, Scandinavians from Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, immigrating to Scotland at the start of the Viking Age. And academics have started to refer to these people as the Scoto-Picto-Scandinavians. And it's the same thing again, where these people would immigrate into Scotland. They would marry local Scottish women. At the very start, it doesn't seem like it was by permission. It seems to be slightly forceful. But later on, it's more marriage alliances and typical medieval carry on going on, where they're making alliances with one clan fighting another clan, so on and so forth. And that goes all the way up to the Scottish War of Independence. In particular, there is one major war between the Norwegians and the Scots, where a lot of these Scoto-Picto-Scandinavians, as the academics are now referring to, or if you're a layman like myself, Norse Gael, where they're marrying, they're although their main culture now, they've been assimilated into Gaelic culture, because they're living on the Isles, they find more of an advantage to be part of the Kingdom of Norway. And they themselves were turned around as well. My ancestor was from Norway, so I can justify joining the King of Norway against the King of Scotland. And so they have a fight against the King of Scotland, which is called what was it, the Norwegian Scottish War in 1260. And sadly for them, Norway would lose. So a lot of these families would end up immigrating to Ireland and becoming what we would call today the Gallowglass.
Yeah, it depends on the families. We know the Battle of Largs with King Harkin. He stops off on one of the islands he rules, which has McKinnons on it, who are not of Irish Gael stock, unlike clans like the MacLeods, who would be of Manx Norse stock. We obviously know about the McSweeneys and their involvement with becoming Gallowglass and then moving to Ireland. Back to Ireland, they would claim through the descent of Amrahan of the Tyrconnell, but after their failed alliance with Norway and the English against Scotland. But even then, some of the families of the McSweeneys would stay, becoming a branch of the McEwens, amongst others. So you would have multiple lines, obviously vying for control and putting their resources into one faction against another, and in the hope that the faction they'd supported would prevail. The English, the Norse, Scots, the Irish. You'd also have your conservative lines, who would stick to the traditional, alliances and ancestry and stuff. So it's one point I try to raise in all family history is that it's not lineal. You can't just say my family did this, because like all families, even modern families, you will have different branches, cousins doing different things. So yeah.
Even like when you go into 1260, because everyone has this idea that it's very much like Viking and Gaelic, but that whole area where Ulster is now, into the various islands around there, Skye, Shetland, Orkney, that whole area, all those islands, it's so mixed between Norwegian culture, Scottish culture, and Irish culture. And as we were saying the other day, like, you can literally see the Isle of Man from your house, and you can see Scotland if you go down the road. That's crazy. And a lot of people, especially not from your area of Ireland, they don't understand that. Like, look how close that all is, and it's quicker to jump on a boat, because boats were the Formula One cars. Boats were super fast in that period because they all have Viking ships, and they're able to quickly fly over to the likes of the Isle of Man there, fly over to the various islands up there, and fly over there to in Scotland. No problems there, And so things are much more mixed than what you would assume they are. And it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Like, I hope to do a video at the end of this week just covering the folklore and culture in that area, because The Witcher right now is very popular with the algorithm, so it gives me an excuse to cover the folklore of that area around the Norwegian Scottish War. I don't know if it came out with this patch, but there will be a patch or possibly a DLC coming up soon. Hopefully somebody's watched this that knows about Crusader Kings 3, but you can now mix cultures together and develop a new culture. Is it already part of the game, is it?
Yeah, it's up here. Hang on. Yeah, you get like your culture and language and stuff. It's a new feature.
Hopefully, I'm curious. Hopefully, I wish I'd actually gone back. If Norse Gaelic is already in the game, or is it something that they want to bring in later on? Ah, it still says Norse though. It should say Norse Gael. Just where Dublin is. Just zoom out a wee bit. Yeah, that should be Norse Gael at that point, because Dublin at that point is very multi, and like, if you really want to be correct, it should be Hiberno Scandinavian, because it's not just Norse culture coming into Ireland at this point. You have both Danish and Swedish and Rus culture coming in. You even have a tiny bit of Polish Slavic culture going into Dublin as well, very tiny bit. but it really should be saying Hiberno-Scandinavian if you really want to be critical about it. Like, but yeah, it's a shame it still says Norse, but it's exciting at the same time. So,
Well, maybe you'd be able to merge your cultures a bit like your religion, so that you'd have your Norse Gaels or even Egyptian Gaels, which is one of the fun things
yeah,
about Crusader Kings, that you can sort of merge these sort of things together and create your own unique history and cultures and religions. So maybe it's something that will come in a wee bit later on.
that's uh, that's something, yeah, exactly. Something I really like in the detail and stuff. So Crusader Kings 3, so far, still a game with a lot of potential. I think that's what a lot of people have been saying about Crusader Kings 3 so far. Amazing game. I really like it and stuff. But historically, it still needs more tweaking. It still needs more tidying up and stuff. Obviously, the King of Ireland needs to be changed around. The King of Munster, I mean. And Diarmait McMail Namor needs to be put on the throne. And we also need to introduce Norse Gael culture into the game. But other than that, like that's me being very critical of the game. It's still an amazing game. I love Crusader Kings 3. Um, playing
Yeah, CK2's
a good
better.
bit now since it came out, and oh, still into the Crusader Kings 2. Um, Michael, you're a huge fan of Crusader Kings 2.
Yeah, it's way more
I'd
polished at
love,
the minute than this
yeah,
one.
I'd love a few Crusader King fans to watch this now and tell me what they thought and stuff. And other than that, it's a good. I like it, to be honest with you. If there's anything else, is there anything else you want to show me there, Michael?
Yeah, we have the honorary titles that you can give, like knights and stuff, your champions and bodyguards. There's a couple of them have been added. I think it's meant to be like a lot more immersive with them, um, which is always nice.
Ah, oh yeah, nice. Food taster.
There's a whole bunch of them. My thing is that I prefer smaller landed titles like baronies that you could give to cadet branches of your family. Almost make like the landed gentry, which this just doesn't have the scene. They were way better. You have small ones that you could just sort of fish out to your second cousins twice removed, and you could watch them sort of try and grow again. It was just
Yeah.
a really good immersion
Mm.
with the smaller titles that you just do not get on this one at the minute.
Yeah. Hopefully they do bring. I can see them bringing that all in over time. I still see Crusader Kings 3 as a game of it's on its foundation and it's building itself up and it's building a very good foundation in my opinion. Obviously, hopefully we'll have a historical Crusader Kings mod that comes out and historically fixes a lot of the problems that Ireland has. I think we might have to end it here. Guys, thanks very much for that. Michael, once again, thanks for setting this all up. I was watching him this morning again, pulling the tea out, trying to work out how all this works. Um, if you play Crusader Kings 3, please comment below. Tell us what you think of the game so far. Tell us stuff that we left out that we don't understand in the mechanics because I'm still working this out. I'd love for somebody to come onto the show and explain how all this bloody works to me personally. But other than that, lads, if you love Irish history, definitely subscribe to the channel. We have 1,000,001 videos coming out over time, twice a week. Wednesday we're having one video coming out. This week it's obviously the Royal Court, and this weekend I'm going to cover the folklore around the areas of the Isles just off of Scotland and Ireland as well, which is a part of the Witcher series since the Witcher is quite popular right now. And up in the next coming weeks as well, I'll be covering more Irish Viking history as well. Other than that, guys, thanks very much. Oh, and one more thing. Don't forget the merchandise. I will have the links below for the merchandise. Oh, get yourself a nice Clans and Dynasties t-shirt, or even more sensible, a t-shirt of your own clan as well. So definitely get t-shirts, whole shebang. That's coming out. Already out, what am I talking about? And furthermore, you can pretty much follow us in every single page there is. We have got a Facebook up of Clans and Dynasties. Instagram has the Irish Medieval History, and we're also on Twitter as well with Irish Medieval History. So you've got no excuse to not contact us, guys, and give us a good old chat. Other than that, guys, all the best, and definitely subscribe to the channel. See you later, lads.